This week, I'm meeting up with Jaspal Singh. Jaspal Singh is a pilot with Virgin Atlantic Airways, and he tells us about his leadership position, all the people that he's got to deal with, all the controls he has in terms of the cockpit, and ensuring that everyone on the ground, in the air, and then back on the ground arrives safe and sound.
Nice to see you after.
It's so difficult to get hold of you. I know, because you're always flying around, aren't you? You're
I
always,
am indeed, yes.
Yeah.
I'm all over the world.
I think it's probably something to do with the fact that it's your job.
Yes, Senior First Officer with Virgin Atlantic, so yeah, it's a very intriguing job, but we'll obviously chat about that.
Yeah, sure, we will. So tell us, I mean, I know a little bit about Virgin. I mean, it's founded back in '84, well over 30 long-haul routes, loads of aircraft, you know, something like, I think something like 4,000 cabin crew as well. You've got like new planes and stuff that you're getting to?
Yeah, we've got 4,000 cabin crew, over 850 pilots. We've got Airbus A330, which I fly, Airbus A340, which I fly, 747, and we've just took delivery of our first Dreamliner, the 787.
Brilliant.
And that's going to be our aircraft for the future, and we'll be getting virtually one every couple of months now. So we'll have eventually about 20 odd 787s. So,
I was quite honoured actually. I got a link to the airline industry because my father used to work for an airline for about 25 years or so. Yeah, and so many years ago we went to Boeing. And then recently, just a few years ago, I saw the Dreamliner being built, and it's just the most amazing aircraft.
It is. It's a very good aircraft for Virgin Atlantic. It's it's going to be doing all our long haul. It's going to go into Delhi from sometime next year. It's going to be doing all our Hong Kong, China's, and it's going to be saving a lot of money as well. And it's a very fuel efficient aircraft.
So how do you feel? You know, like you've been doing this for a few years. Obviously, you've got a whole history of learning to fly and stuff like that. Yeah. Do you still get that fantastic feeling when you're up there? I mean, we do as passengers. Like we look at it and go, "How is this plane off the ground? What a massive responsibility these guys have got to."
Question how it gets off the ground, but yeah, no, I'm not just saying it because I'm sitting here, but one, being an airline pilot is just one of the best jobs in the world, but two, working for Virgin Atlantic was a dream come true for me. I mean, I started my career off in the probation service, but always wanted to be a pilot, and hopefully I'll aspire others after this scheme. But probation officer, worked for BMI Baby company in the Midlands, then I worked for EasyJet for 6 years. But my dream was always to do long haul, and in particular, I always wanted to work for Virgin Atlantic. It's got an iconic brand, and the way they do things, it's just I felt my personality fitted into that. So I managed to get a job with them just over 2 years ago, and I haven't looked back since. That
the kind of thing that you do when you're on the deck.
Okay.
I mean, it can be quite for me, I just go in there and go, look at all these displays. How can I actually kind of figure out all the things that are going on? It's like there's a lot of activity, isn't there? And you've got to contact the the main base that you're going to get to, and
yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously the training side of it is one aspect. Once you get into the aircraft and the types of specific aircraft that you're going to be flying, it's you got to follow what they call standard operating procedures. So Virgin Atlantic have got their own. So for example, a typical day for me, I'll give you a good example. About 2 weeks ago, I was at home on standby, and I was watching Star Trek Deep Space Nine. I think you're a bit of a Trekkie.
I am a bit of a Trekkie, I have to admit that, sorry.
Yeah, I was watching it, and they phoned me up and they said, Jazz, we need you to operate a 6-day trip to the Caribbean. And my first response was, but Star Trek is on.
Okay, right.
But no, seriously, so I got called out for a 6-day trip.
This is why they've got tape recorders? Or they record things? They're no longer tape recorders, sorry. Yeah.
No, so I got called out for a 6-day trip to the Caribbean. So I drove, Heathrow is one of our main bases, as is Gatwick. I drove down to Gatwick. So one of the first things I will do is I'll go and meet my captain. And so we have a chat, get to know each other, and then we print off all the paperwork necessary for that flight. So that will include your flight plan. It's going to tell you what fuel you need to take, the route, what you need to program into the computer. It will tell you the weather, all the things that we need to know that is going to help us fly to our destination. We'll work on a plan in terms of choosing what fuel we're going to take, because obviously fuel is very costly nowadays, so we have to work out very carefully what we're going to take. And then we'll decide on that, and then we'll go and meet the cabin crew. So on a typical Caribbean trip, there might be 13, 14 cabin crew. We'll introduce ourselves and tell them any expected turbulence en route, time of flight, and likewise they'll tell us if they've got any issues. And then we'll all go to the aircraft together, fly, and getting into the aircraft itself, depending on the flights. For example, if I'm taking it out, I'll get my head in, start programming the computer, the route, the weather, as in the winds, and then the captain will be dealing with the fueler, the dispatcher, the person who's loading the aircraft. So there's a lot of stuff going on. Getting the
I guess it's like 3 or 4 different types of skills there, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's an operational management skill, actually knowing about the logistics and how that works, and there's probably a mechanical skill of knowing how the mechanism of the actual plane is going to be, and I suppose related to that is technological skill, which is all the technology that controls that, almost like a link between the technical side and the...
You have to be quite a diplomat and
and then the last one is interpersonal skills as well. You know,
absolutely.
Whether you're dealing with people who are actually in the cabin or passengers, or whether it be
the job has changed over the last 25 years. Before, you would just take on kind of robots to some degree, but no, they want people with personality, and because you're dealing with, customers are so important in any business, and Virgin Atlantic take that very, very seriously. So we're, dealing with our customers, we're dealing with the fuelers, the dispatchers, the loaders, the airport authorities, air traffic control, and so we're always negotiating certain things. So that's very, very.
It was interesting. I read an article a few years ago that spoke about you've got these assembly, you've got all these aeroplanes that what are they called, the Red Arrows, right? And they said, well, the Red Arrows are great as pilots, but one of the things they try and enforce is that the pilot is just as important as the person that's working in the warehouse or in the actual hangar to clean the plane or make sure that all the equipment is properly 100%. That it's all part of the team, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
It's a team working and leadership in that level, saying that it's not an ego trip, the fact that I that's probably backwards and forwards wrong like that, isn't it?
Well, mine's a side stick.
Joystick, okay, and millions of buttons. It's not just about that, it's also about joining people up and, feeling that ultimately when you reach your destination, so many people have been involved in that, and, you've got a leadership position, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Behind every aircraft is, the X amount of employees. We've got customers, got the ticketing people, customer service, you've got your food people, you've got the training department at Virgin Atlantic is second to none, certainly.
So that's it for this week. It's so wonderful to meet you again.
Likewise.
We met a few months ago, and you're really inspired, and I know you do a lot of charity work as well, so that's a great thing that you do too. We wish you fantastic travels and safe travels ahead with all the great work that you do, and I'm certainly inspired. I can't come back next week and do another show, but